is Pie in the Sky. It's a third-person action arcade game where you play as an Australian magpie. It's essentially like a score attack or time attack arcade game, similar to the old Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games, but instead of doing skateboard tricks, you're swooping people and stealing food and pooping on them to rack up a high score in levels set in iconic Australian places. I think just the idea of getting swooped by a magpie is just so ingrained in every Australian's mind that, yeah, seeing people's reaction when they think, oh man, like, I'm so glad someone's made a game of this. So, as I said, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater is a big influence on the game, but not just because of the scoring and even the aesthetics are based like to look like a early 2000s PS2 game. But one of the things I really liked about games like Tony Hawk's and other games in that era was they added just a lot of extra secret content and things you would just sort of stumble upon, things that were also that then influenced games like Goat Simulator as well, which is one of my favorite games. And just, yeah, that process of putting extra little things, hidden things into the game, and just, yeah, the thought that someone's going to come across it, and even just someone having a little chuckle or you know, taking a screenshot and sending it to a friend, I just find a lot of joy in that. So the idea is that the game has multiple levels, and within each level are a number of objectives, some of which are given to the player at the start and some are hidden. So you start a level, you go in and you have a time limit of 3 minutes to complete as many objectives as you can. The reason the time limit is there is to introduce a level of challenge for the player. So for instance, you know, collecting a certain amount of objects, once you know where they are, is pretty easy, but collecting them all within a time limit, it adds that extra challenge. Because one of the things I was concerned about with the game was that it wasn't challenging enough. So yeah, the time limit's there to sort of incentivize a bit of challenge. But once you've unlocked a few objectives, you unlock free fly mode, so you can just, without a time limit, go around, explore, find all the secrets and stuff like that. So yeah, it's essentially you go in, you look at the objectives. A lot of them are finding objects like hidden feathers around the world. There's a high score that you have to try and get in. To get that, you need to rack up combos, so trying to swoop people, steal food, smash items, basically cause chaos without your combo meter running out. So if you start learning the levels and linking pieces together, you can find like optimal routes to increase your combo and get a high score. And then there'll be certain objectives that are themed around the level. So for instance, the beach level has an objective to drop sunscreen on 4 sunbathers. So you pick up the sunscreen and you line it up, drop it, and it will splat on the sunbather, and you do 4 of those and you get an objective. So yeah, so the main mechanics are essentially flying around. You can swoop, which is on a cooldown. You can steal food, which gives you points but also fills up your poop meter. Once that's full, you can poop on people, which also adds to your score. And then there's, yeah, the other sort of bespoke objectives around, as well as hidden stat points as well. And if you find the stat points, you can upgrade things like your flight speed, your walk speed, your swoop cooldown, your metabolism, which allows you to store poops faster, so you don't have to find as many food items. And yeah, a couple of other stats as well, so that some of the challenges in the earlier levels that are quite difficult to get within the time limit, you might be able to come back later with higher stats and achieve them. So the idea is to repeat levels a lot to really get to know them quite well. I was on my way home from work one day and I walked past this really nice park that has a bunch of birds. And I think as someone who's now in their 30s, I think bird watching just sort of sneaks up on you when you become 30 apparently. And I enjoyed watching all the different birds like the galahs and the cockatoos and of course the cheeky magpies. And I thought, I wonder if anyone's made a game where you can, you know, swoop people as a magpie, because it's a pretty common Australian experience, but didn't seem to be that commonly represented in media. So I thought that would be a pretty fun idea. And yeah, basically that day after work, I got home. I think I stayed up until midnight just working on a prototype. And by the next day, I had a little polygonal magpie flying around in a level, and I thought this project's got some legs. So I've got kids now, and they go to school, and my eldest son gets swooped pretty much every day, and I have a moral dilemma every time it happens to run over and assure him that it's okay, or get my phone out and film it for content for my game. So I've been working on it since the start of this year, so January 2024. So I'm a solo developer, and I have a full-time job outside of game development, and I have 2 kids. So the amount of time I get to work on the project is pretty limited. So I basically started, January this year, probably 1 or 2 nights a week, just working on the prototype. And then once I got something kind of working, I started posting videos on TikTok and Instagram and Reddit and stuff like that, just to get some traction and build an audience. And the response was pretty good. Some of the videos took off a little bit, which sort of gave me the motivation to keep going. And yeah, the game just sort of grew from there. As I said, I don't get much time to work on it, but I'm thinking about it a lot during the day. So when I do actually finally get to sit down and work on it, I like to think that it's pretty productive time. I'm sort of like raring to go. So now I'm probably about halfway through production. My original plan was to release early next year, but just looking at my timeline and the scope, it's probably going to be pushed to late next year, probably like November. And that just gives me more time to really put in all of the stuff that I want in there. The plan now is to keep working on the game, keep adding content. I'm trying to keep up to date with weekly social media posts on multiple platforms to keep people informed about the game. And then essentially it will release on Steam later next year. And then I do also want to port it to consoles and mobile as well, but I don't really have a time frame for how long that's going to take. But it'll be some time after the PC release, but it's definitely a priority. I think this is the sort of game that I'd love to see people playing on Switch or on their phones.
What is your go-to caffeinated beverage when working on the game?
Well, it's funny, I forgot about this question. I was actually going to make an iced coffee before this interview, and I opted for some homebrew beer instead. But yeah, usually I'd say an iced coffee is probably my favorite. No sugar, no, I guess iced latte, no sugar or ice cream or anything. Just coffee, milk, and ice.